Hello everyone, myself Harsha Bhandari from Yuva Foundation, and today as we are going to speak about some adolescent development and the importance of open conversation about gender and identity. So today we will talk about how this gender and sex thing come in school curriculum and how we are going to address it in the long run and why it should be addressed. So first we will start with the thing that why this importance of open dialogue came into existence. Why it is so important to talk about adolescence and why it is so important to talk about this sex and gender. So there are some points which we should keep in mind that whenever we do open communication with our adolescent about gender, about their identity, about sex, we just open that door where we can easily what we say converse with them around it, and we can clear their doubts because they are in that phase where adolescent is that age where they are changing and exploring things, right? And they are very curious to know about what changes are going through them, what they are feeling, what they believe. And when they know about sex and gender, when they have clear picture about it, they can understand themselves better. And as they are started developing some healthy relationships, so those relationships will be healthy, not toxic for them. And by being this like informed adolescent, they will be making informed decisions in their lives and they will be building resilience. So, as an educator or a teacher, what we should tell them about sex and gender? Because if you are an educator, so you will be believing that we already know about it and what is the need to talk about it. But think it like that, if we are talking to an adolescent for the first time, and so how we will term or address these two terms, sex and gender, with them so that they can have a clarity or a clear picture about it. So, we will start with this thing. What is sex? This term sex and genders are like often used very interchangeably, and we know that there is a big difference between these two, right? So when we talk about sex, it is the physical difference between people who are male, female, or intersex. And today in this session we will talk about intersex as well, because by birth it is like decided that a person or a newborn will be assigned to only two gender, two sex, male, female. And we don't talk about intersex very much often, and how it becomes like a stigma in the long run, and how it impacts the person who is not fitting in that box of male and female. We will talk later about it. So a person which typically when they born, the sex is assigned to them by their genitalia, their chromosome composition, and their physiological characteristics. And intersex, what does this term means then? So it is a umbrella term that describes naturally occurring variations in humans, and that actually fall outside the strict male and female binary. There are lot of ways someone can be intersex, like they can have various gonads, genitalia, or chromosomes. So these two terms should be very clear to our adolescent who is a growing young one, who is going to be a youth in future. They should know about these terms and what that they actually means. Then if we talk about sex, okay, we got it that it is some physical difference, but what does then gender means? What is gender? Because I have already addressed that these two terms are used very interchangeably, and when we have to use sex, we sometimes refer it as gender. When we have to refer gender, we sometimes refer it as sex. So what is gender actually is? So gender is in the other hand, it involves individuals personal identity, like what I feel, what I feel like, or sometimes it is a result of the social construct, like what society wants me to feel. Like it is an identity which I actually feels and which I believe that I am. And sex is what physically I look like, what my genitalias are, what my chromosome composition is, and so on. So according to the gender, there are some roles which are exclusively constructed according to their behaviors, and people refer it as the work of men and women, which is actually not a good thing. But what we feel that going out, working is a work of men, and provider is a man, and birth giver and taking care of their children, doing household chores are the work of a woman, which is socially constructed roles and behaviors. Okay, I'm not saying that these are the works which are assigned, but these are assigned by the society. Then there is a term non-binary people who may identify as an intermediate or separate third gender. So they can have more than one gender, they can have no gender, or they have a fluctuating gender identity. Like they can sometimes believe they feel like a female, and if in the long run in their life they can feel like a male in certain point of their time, and it is completely fine whatever a person feels like. So it is a complex concept, and gender is a social construct, as I have already told, and it is not biological, and it consists of gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientations. So a person's internal sense of being male, female, both or neither, is their gender identity. And how a person behaves, presents through clothing, behavior, and other means is their gender expression. And their sexual orientation, who they are attracted to emotionally, romantically, sexually, is their sexual orientation. So this is the basic difference between these two terms. So right now in your screen, if you can see there, we have like created a picture. So these are how these are very interconnected: male, female, feminine, gender fluid, and certain kind of terms. Now we are going to discuss about certain terms. Like I have already like taken a word like binary in my last whatever I said. So what this binary means? So gender is a spectrum. Like gender doesn't define or come into two boxes. We cannot like make it into two boxes of male and female. It is a spectrum. It is a range of gender identities and expressions, and that's why it challenges this traditional notion of gender. Okay, and so because it challenges traditional notions of gender, then we believe that no, if we are not acting like a certain gender which is acceptable, societally acceptable, like male and female, and being a male, if I act something like female, or if I'm a female if I act like male, or if I believe that I am a male, then it is not societally acceptable. But it should be acceptable, because the gender is not just confined in two boxes, and it has a spectrum. So we should be inclusive and respectful to other gender identities. Like every gender identity we should respect. So to our adolescent, they should know, like they should know about the other gender identities, which I have said that these there are spectrum of gender. So what they actually are, and what it actually means. So there are some terms which we called as LGBTQIA community. It is called plus LGBTQIA plus. So what L means, that is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, gender non-binary, gender fluid, and questioning. Okay, so a lesbian, our adolescent could be curious that what does this lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender this means. So later on they can be told that what it these terms actually means. When they are growing, they are questioning their sexuality, their personality. So they should know that what these terms actually means. Like a lesbian is a person who is sexually and romantically attracted to other women. A gay is who is attracted to other men, and bisexual who is not attracted, like who is attracted to two different genders, oblique sex. And transgender is an umbrella terms. And a person born male but identify as a woman is called as trans woman. Queer is a term which is an umbrella term for individuals from sexual and gender diverse communities. Intersex, a category of sex that has sexual characteristics in terms of chromosomes, hormones, and anatomies that different from typical male and female sex. Asexual who does not feel experience any sexual attraction and has very little or no interest in sexual activity. And gender and non-binary, a person who neither identifies as a man nor a woman and whose identity, expression, behaviors, and roles do not conform to the typical societal norms. And gender fluid, a person who does not have a fixed gender identity but rather is flexible and adaptable, and whose gender identity or expression changes from time to time. And questioning is a term, it refers to those who are still exploring and questioning their sexuality, orientation, and identity and have not arrived yet at a clear conclusion. So these are some terms which they should know, because in schools we often talk about gender and sex, but we talk about only two genders, like we talk about male or female. But uh, it is a reality that there are many genders, and we should know that what does that actually means. We should not be afraid of these terms like sex, like gender, to tell about them to our students, because in their like curriculum also there is, they have to learn about the biological changes our adolescent go through, what is the purpose of our different reproductive organs, how does, what does that mean. Similarly, simultaneously, if we want to create an environment where every gender should be is being respected and every gender is feeling inclusive in the society, then it is very important to tell our adolescent about these things, like these terms, so that it shouldn't be a an alien concept for them. It doesn't become a matter of laugh for them. They don't make anyone feel that they are something, they are some aliens and they don't belong to our society or something like that. So it is very crucial. So what LGBTQIA movement is, so if we see it, there were some sections like repealing section 377 of the Indian penal code, which actually criminalized homosexuality at one point, and raising awareness and dispelling misconception about LGBTQIA plus community, uh, in and protecting their rights. And any transphobic, homophobic violence and discrimination should be like completely protect them from that. Their rights and freedom should be like safeguard, and they feel empowered in the community to, they feel empowered so that they can fight for their rights. So what happened in these recent years, so the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019 grants legal recognition to these transgender individuals as a third gender. So if we fill certain forms for our competitive exams, so you can see there are like three genders assigned to male, female, and third gender. So they can tick on that. Earlier, what happened used to happen that they have to fill themselves in these two boxes, either male or female, and there was no such probation for anything else, any other gender. This act also prohibits discrimination against transgender persons in any employment, healthcare, and access to public spaces. So they have total right. They can have employment, they can have healthcare facilities, and they have public spaces. They can use their public spaces. The law and order does not like prohibit them from that. So do the society should also make them feel inclusive, because law says that. And in a humanitarian ground as well, it should happen that no one should feel being a human they are not part of our society. This is the worst feeling, this is the worst one can feel as a human. On September 6, 2018, the Supreme Court made a landmark judgment by striking down Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. It decriminalized homosexuality and legalized consensual sex between two consenting adults. And this, how does this happen? Because this happened only after the persistent advocacy and activism and these LGBTQIA plus community have increasingly assumed significant roles in various fields such as activism, education, arts, politics, sports, medicine, and the legal system. And given the right opportunities, they have thrived and achieved their goals. And if they are given right opportunity, they can thrive and achieve their goals like any other gender does. So some uh, quotes we usually read in 2015, what American Academy of Pediatrics tricks has to say that by age 4, many children, most of the children have a stable sense of their gender identity. So just being a little kid, you don't like make them feel that they don't have any idea that how which gender they uh, fit in. So by age 4, they have that idea. And this is true for all kids, regardless of their gender. The average age of self realization is 7.9, and the average age of disclosure is 15.5. So I have used many terms like homophobia, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual. What does these terms means? These terms are basically sexual orientation. It believes that who we are attracted to and who we are more drawn to romantically, emotionally, and sexually. So heterosexual is basically who is attracted to the opposite sex. Homosexual is who attracted to the same sex, and bisexual is attracted to either sex, and many more there are. And what is homophobia and transphobia means? Phobia, if these terms is having phobia, then it means a certain kind of phobia. And when we like use these two terms together, it encompasses a range of negative attitudes and feelings towards homosexuality of people who are identified or perceived as LGBTQ plus community. And this is what these terms actually means. So it is a gender bread how these genders, biological, sexual, are a key ingredient of a gender bread person. So how does it be, how does it works, and how do we uh, express ourselves? It is quite shown in this slide. Okay, so I have like used many terms in my previous slides, and knowing about them is good.
Miss Harsha, I'm not able to hear you. Miss Harsha? Miss Harsha, can you hear me? Miss Harsha, can you hear me? We are not able to hear you. Miss Harsha, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself? I'm not able to hear you. Your iPhone screen has stopped. Yes. Can you unmute yourself on the laptop?
Okay, is it fine?
Yes, now you can continue.
Okay. Okay, now I am also connected. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, it's echoing now. You turn off the iPhone, ma'am.
Okay, is it fine?
Yes, it's good now. Thank you. Continue.
Okay, 1 minute, like. So I was.
It's echoing, and you have stopped sharing the screen too.
Is it showing?
No, the screen is not showing to me. You didn't share the screen yet.
1 minute. I am trying to share it, but like what has happening, I don't know. Unable to share it. Okay, no problem.
We have 5 minutes left. It's 11:25. If you want
Okay,
to take the questions, I can ask you the questions, ma'am.
okay. I will like just finish it.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry for this.
Yes,
So
yes.
I was on gender inequality. So what does that? Why does we have to? Why we have to talk about it? The gender identity thing, gender inequality thing, because it impacts a person, right? In the past, when activities were limited, women could participate in a very limited things. Less, it was considered they have very less physical interest, and because of the demands of like bearing and raising children, they have like assigned certain duties, and the same was with the men. And what happened because of this? So the women were, for a longest time of their lives, they were like barred from giving votes. Uh, they have to continuously prove themselves. Similarly, what happened to men? They were being forced that a man should not cry, a man should behave like this, and it like created an additional pressure on both the genders. And when I'm talking about this specific male and female gender, then think about the other genders who don't like fit themselves in these two particular genders, and they are part of binary gender spectrum. So if these genders which are like, which are accepted and which are societally accepted, if they have to face such things, these gender inequalities, then what condition is of the other binary genders? We can only imagine about it. And like these societal expectations had like impacted these genders so badly that the gender roles were traditionally assigned according to the societal expectations. And if we still decide to do this thing to our adolescent, they will feel more pressured and conform to the expectations, and anxiety and depression, they will self doubt themselves, they will be feel difficulty in forming any kind of relationships. And what does the negative impact of these gender stereotypes? It happens, and when it happens, it like limits opportunities. uh, it contributes in the mental health issues, and these are adolescent can find difficulty in relationship development. So what in the starting of the session I have talked about this thing called as open communication. So what we should do, we should have an open communication with our adolescent. uh, Being a teacher, parent, caregiver, we should reduce this stigma, and we should talk openly about gender and identity, which can help in reducing stigma and discrimination. Promoting self acceptance, like open conversation can help adolescents accept and embrace their identities. And like when we encourage healthy relationships, open communication can lead to healthier and more respectful relationships. So how we can talk about gender and identity? So first of all, foremost, we should create a space which is safe for them, using age appropriate languages, listen to them actively, what are their thoughts. It is very important to pay attention to our teens thought, what they are feeling, validating their experience, like their emotions, their perspective, and providing only accurate information about gender and sexuality, and avoid making assumptions. Like we should allow our adolescent to express themselves freely. What can be the role of schools in such scenario? So we should create schools, environment in schools, it should be inclusive. We should have gender neutral bathrooms, inclusive dress codes. We should have LGBTQ plus student support groups, and we should even educate our staff and gender staff on about gender and sexuality, so that they can behave better with the students, and they can help whenever their student needs them. This is very crucial. So how these things come into existence? Various what does these theories suggest? Like gender, I have already told that it is a socially constructed and maintained and reproduced in our daily lives. Family often they are the primary source of socializations, and they greatly impact the gender role socialization. And social learning theory often suggests that the babies and children learn behaviors and meanings through social interaction, and they internalize the expectations of those which are around them. So always remember, we learn gender, we are not born knowing who wears pink. I had a video, but like right now I won't be able to share it, because I will show a last video which is just 3 to 4 minutes, and it is a very important video. We should definitely watch it. Schools also socialize children into their gender roles, and these gender roles are very. If we don't talk about the women's movement, we will be like giving some half information to them. So the first wave was the earliest period of feminist activism, and it included the period from mid 19th century until white American women won the right to vote in 1920. And that's how we start celebrating International Women's Day. Then second wave was around 1960s and 1970s, which is often associated with the issues of women's equal access to employment and education. And third wave is the most recent period of feminist activity and focuses on issues such as reproductive rights, supporting women of color, domestic violence, maternity leave, equal pay, sexual harassment, and sexual violence. So we should make it very clear that the power, we should not neglect the power of conversation. We should openly talk honestly about gender and identity, so that our adolescents can navigate their gender with confidence and compassion. And let's create a world where everyone feels safe, valued, and accepted regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation. I will conclude this my talk with this video, which is very important in today's scenario. So let's watch it together, and then I will close my session.
मम्मी नाराज तो होने ही वाली। वो तो चाहती कि मैं डॉक्टर ही बनूं, इसलिए हॉलीडेज खत्म और बोर्डिंग स्कूल शुरू। एक दिन भी एक्स्ट्रा रुकने नहीं दिया।
not able to watch the video.
मम्मी
I
भी
can
ना।
only hear the audio. Maybe you have to
अपने आप ही बनाई।
share it in a separate
फादर ने उन्हें घर से निकाल
URL
दिया।
like that.
अकेले रहने का तो सोचने से भी डर लगता है।
Yeah, stop sharing the screen.
मैंने
and,
अपने पापा
play
को कभी
in a
देखा
bit.
नहीं।
Yes, now better.
और मेरी असली माँ, वो बहुत बीमार रहती थी। उनके बारे में सिर्फ एक ही दिन याद है जो मैं कभी भुला नहीं पाती। एक दिन कुछ लोग आए और उन्हें एम्बुलेंस में ले गए। फिर वो कभी वापस ही नहीं आई। फिर एक दिन मम्मी आई। बहुत प्यार से मुझे अपनी गोद में बिठाया और मुझे अपने घर ले गई। तबीयत खराब थी तो पूरी रात मेरे साथ बैठी रही। सुबह मम्मी ने एक सुंदर सी रेड फ्रॉक पहनाई, मेरे लिए ढेर सारे चिप्स बनाए। मम्मी के साथ 10 साल हो गए। अब तो मम्मी मम्मी कम और दोस्त ज़्यादा बन गई। संडे हम दोनों का फेवरेट दिन है। बालों में तेल लगाने के बाद दोपहर में मेरा फेवरेट लंच कड़ी चावल, और रात में हॉरर फिल्म। डर लगता है, पर मम्मी होती है ना तो नहीं लगता। ये है मेरी मम्मी, है ना प्यारी? मैंने लाइफ में इतने प्रॉब्लम्स देखे, कितना कुछ सहा है, पर फिर भी उन्होंने हमेशा मेरा ख्याल रखा है। सिविक्स बुक में तो लिखा है कि सबके लिए बेसिक राइट्स सेम होते हैं, फिर मम्मी को क्यों नहीं है? इसलिए मैं डॉक्टर नहीं, लॉयर बनूंगी, मेरी मम्मी के लिए।
Beautiful video, Miss Harsha.
Thank you, Veena. So this was all from my side.
Again, I'm not able to hear you clearly.
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
this
we are
is
ready to take questions.
Yes. So as the time is very less, I'll only ask you a couple of questions. So one thing, you have covered everything. One question from my end is, how can we promote self-directed learning in adolescents?
Okay. So this self-directed learning can only be ensured if we will ignite this flame of knowing. And how we will ignite that flame in them, we can like start having conversation with them and leaving our conversations with some questions, not answering everything, but like we can have questions like, why do you think that we should have this inclusive environment for every gender? What do you think that how employment opportunities and how society like misbehaves with the other genders or who are considered at third gender? Have you ever seen any such discrimination being seen? Have you ever seen anything like this? Have you ever come across with some any of your friend who doesn't fit into this domain of these two genders, male and female, and believes that he belongs to some third gender? You can left your adolescent with some such questions, so though they can explore about them, they can learn about them, and when they come back to you with some answers, then you can guide them with the right information, with right facts and right knowledge. That is what I believe in self-directed learning to any
So
adolescent.
what's the impact of family dynamics on adolescent development when they're going through these changes, or like how should they go to the family and voice themselves out?
See, I believe that family is very crucial because most of the time a child lives with their family, and what notion, what they a family believes, what their values are, that instill in their child very easily. So, starting with this dialogue with the parents, if any educator or school is deciding to have this conversation with the adolescent group or children, we should have this same session with the parents first, so that we can make them believe that they will have to accept the existence of this third gender identity, because they are part of our society, they live between us, they are between us. And how we will feel if I'm being a female, if I have to be like a male, how does it feel? It is the worst thing which can happen to me. Like, I'm not freely able to express myself, I am not freely able to dress myself up because I feel like certain gender. So the first values start with the family, and a family will not know it in their own. So as a school, as a different NGOs, we should start conversation with the parents. I know that these terms, these just certain terms I used in the my sessions can like panic some parents, like how they are talking about sex so openly, they are talking about attraction, they are talking about this thing, emotionally attraction, sexual attraction. But these things are not to be stigmatized, because if we will not tell our adolescent through the right way, they are already curious, they are in the age of exploration, they will know about it, but it could be from different different means which won't be right for their age, which won't give them right information. And in our previous session, as we've discussed about internet safety, it can drive them into something which is not good for them, not good for them in terms of like social world or something like that. So we should start having conversation with them as a parent, as a teacher, and through some right information, give them factual information, talk to them about certain terms. We should not be stigmatized, rather it should be talked about so that they can make informed decisions when they grow up or during their growing period.
Well explained, Miss Harsha. Thank you for the talk and for patiently answering all the questions, ma'am. And anything else you want to mention before we end the session?
No, thank you, Pravina, for giving me this opportunity to have session second time. I hope it will be helpful for any teacher educator who is working with teens, adolescent, or youth group. Thank you so much.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, ma'am. I'll end the session now.